You're fucking a white male! You're a white man!
First, a quick plea to you, my dear viewers. Please consider subscribing to this channel. What does it mean to be white in North America? Should anyone, because of how they were born, the color of their skin, be automatically guilty of some heinous crime? Are we retroactively responsible for the actions of people who shared the same skin color hundreds of years ago? Exactly who is racist?
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
If every single white person is racist and are reaping the generous bounty of white privilege, well then, there's nothing left to do but make an honest attempt to level the playing field. How about education? New York teachers no longer have to be literate, says commentarymagazine.com. The New York State Board of Regents, which supervises public education, has decided it will no longer be necessary for would-be teachers to pass an academic literacy skills test. The reason? The test was producing racially disparate results. Only 41% of black candidates and 46% of Hispanic candidates had passed the exam on their first attempt, compared to 64% of white candidates. Links to all the articles mentioned in this video will be in the description below. Needless to say, they discuss the need to make it less onerous or burdensome for some prospective teachers to be elevated to educator status. What this Board of Regents is saying is that some people are just not able to do what is expected of everyone else. They are infantilizing part of the population. It's like the well-intentioned progressives that say people in minority communities are not able to vote because they don't know how to use technology to register and can't be trusted to navigate their bodies to the voting booth. It's as if large parts of the population never used smartphones and never traveled outside of their homes. What they're saying is they are not smart enough to find the voting booth. Their intentions are not to say these people are stupid or inferior, but the result is the same. That is not to say there are real hurdles to people having access to the franchise, because they do exist. Years ago, I watched as a white guy said to a bunch of black men, quote, "All you ever think about is basketball and sex." He was outwardly and proudly racist, and honest about his feelings. When you, even with the best intentions, say to a group of people, you can't be trusted to be capable of performing mundane tasks as expected from the rest of society, you are also being racist, all the while calling everyone around you racist for the unforgivable crime of being born white. Kate Walsh, president of the National Council on Teacher Quality, said that eliminating the literacy exam because of minority candidates' performances on it was the wrong response. She says, "What we are effectively doing is perpetuating a cycle of underperformance." This is interesting when you discover that last year's reading scores for students in New York City has been on the uptake. New York City reading scores leap, matching state average for the first time. The share of New York City students who passed the state English exams jumped by nearly 8 points this year to 38%, matching the state average for the first time, state officials said Friday. That spike beat the statewide increase by 1 point and is 4 times greater than the city's year-over-year increase in 2015. They go on to say, there's been some pretty intensive teacher training in the schools across New York City, she said, and I know that specifically there's been an agenda to increase writing across city schools. What they are talking about is reading, writing, literacy. Put your thinking cap on for a little bit and chew on this. They appear to have been successfully working at student literacy rates because, it's important. Then, less than a year later, they seem to think that it's not an important part of the educator's skill set. Meanwhile, there's trouble brewing in higher academia. The issue is free speech, and at its roots lays the ugly specter of extreme leftist illiberalism. Why is this important? The left illiberal or authoritarianism is what is bringing down education in North America. In New York City, we have the soft bigotry of low expectations for the educators. At universities, it is intolerance towards tolerance by the students and some of the faculty. It is intolerance towards anyone's opinion that different from your own. It is safe spaces for professional crybabies and thumbsuckers who, instead of boldly engaging in the world of ideas and opinions, run away and hug a teddy bear or Play-Doh. Two of the most prominent public intellectuals in America, Cornel West and Robert P. George, have joined forces in defense of old liberal truths. They state, the pursuit of knowledge knowledge and the maintenance of a free and democratic society require the cultivation and practice of the virtues of intellectual humility, openness of mind, and, above all, love of truth. These virtues will manifest themselves and be strengthened by one's willingness to listen attentively and respectfully to intelligent people who challenge one's belief and who represent causes one disagrees with and points of view one does not share. That's why all of us should seek respectfully to engage with people who challenge our views, and we should oppose efforts to silence those with whom we disagree, especially on college and university campuses. None of us is infallible. Whether you are a person of the left, the right, or the center, there are reasonable people of goodwill who do not share your fundamental convictions. All of us should be willing, even eager, to engage with anyone who is prepared to do business in the currency of truth, seeking discourse by offering reasons, marshaling evidence, and making arguments. The more important the subject under discussion, the more willing we should be to listen and engage, especially if the person with whom we are in conversation will challenge our deeply held, even our most cherished and identity-forming beliefs. It is all too common these days for people to try to immunize from criticism opinions that happen to be dominant in their particular communities. Sometimes this is done by questioning the motives and thus stigmatizing those who dissent from prevailing opinions, or by disrupting their presentations, or by demanding that they be excluded from the campus, or, if they have already been invited, disinvited. I encourage you to visit their joint statement linked below and read it in its entirety. Having this fresh set of ideas in mind, I bring you back to the subject that we met with at the start of this video. No, not AIDS Skrillex, but this issue of being born a criminal because of your skin color. I found a meetup page which is called White People Unpacking Whiteness. They proclaim the goal of this group is to help individuals gain perspective on the ways in which growing up in white America causes each of us to consciously and unconsciously perpetuate systems of privilege, oppression, and white hegemony. Whiteness has impacted us all, and none of us are immune to the internalization of its values. The foundations for discussion will be Debbie Irving's book, Waking Up White. I didn't join that meetup, so I can't be sure if their weekly white self-flagellations include cat o' nine tails dipped in vinegar to improve the repentance. We can scarcely justify discussing the subject of white guilt without going for the big one. Yes, I do mean that. Milk. So good it's racist. Now, most people know that cow's milk is intended to turn small baby cows into very large cows in a short period of time. The data is still inconclusive if it is bad for all humans at any age, but it's racist. Yes, it's racist. In the Daily Wire, there is an article. College student explains why milk is racist. Samantha Diaz, a staff writer for California State University Long Beach's student newspaper, the Daily 49er, wrote an article claiming that white supremacists and neo-Nazis are appropriating milk as a symbol of hate. Here is the hook to her article. When you think of milk, what first comes to your mind? If you're a millennial, you probably think of Strong Bones, Got Milk commercials, or maybe eating your favorite cereal while watching cartoons on a Saturday morning. What about racism? White nationalism? If you're having trouble finding the connection between these institutions and milk, you're not alone. You, along with the rest of the nation, have been so accustomed to hearing the benefits of milk that you probably didn't even realize the subtle racism hidden in our health facts. I will end this with comments recently made by free speech hero Jordan Peterson on the very subject of white guilt. I don't know if there are many people that can put this so eloquently and directly to the point as he can.
Yes.
I'm very interested in your comments on this phrase. Western culture is committing suicide. Why is that happening?
Guilt.
Yes, what guilt? Expand please. Whose guilt? What guilt?
Well, there's lots for people to be guilty about. You know, I mean, you might say, to what degree should you bear the horrendous guilt of your ancestors? And that's a really hard question. I mean, because the radical left answer would be, to the degree that you're privileged by your ancestry, you should bear their guilt. Well, yes, the question is then what do you do? Well, what you should do is what I suggested today, I would say, is take responsibility for your lives and understand that what you have came at a terrible cost, and that you have an ethical obligation to use it properly, and that would be sufficient to pay for the sins of your ancestors, so to speak. I think it's absolutely reprehensible that the radical left dares to attribute to ethnically identified groups collective guilt. There's absolutely no excuse for that. It's completely murderous, and that should be rejected out of hand. So, but that's independent of the issue about what you should do, given that part of your wealth is a consequence of historical catastrophe. So you should try to sort that out, roughly speaking, and for everyone's benefit, but not necessarily because you're any more guilty personally. You're guilty as hell personally, but so is everyone else. That's the critical thing. So is everyone else.
I cannot add more to this topic than Professor Peterson, at least nothing meaningful after listening to him. Thank you once again for watching this video. If you disagree with anything in it, do not hesitate to vent your spleen in the comments below. Please take the time to like or subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to check one of the many older videos. The further back you go, the crappier they are, but most people's goals are to improve, and I hope to have done so. Also, look us up on the social media page linked below, and a newly minted Patreon page for anyone wanting to help this channel. See you next time.